What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. I had fun making this one. It was pretty unique as no one actually made a single video about King Booker's run, and I thought since you guys want it, let's make it. As for that Chris Jericho video, Undisputed Title Reign, I am going to make it next week. I've wanted to make that one for a while now, and next week is the time I finally get the chance to actually make a video about it. Alright. It's astonishing to me that Booker T wasn't given a world title reign in WWE up until he became a king. It's funny. Why? Well, the king gimmick is seen as a mid-card one, and it's the gimmick that propelled Booker to the main event scene. In this video, I cover Booker T's run as King Booker. I'm glad that he actually got a big run in WWE. He definitely deserved it since day one. And he didn't screw up the opportunity. He actually delivered with some hilarious promos and some stuff. Matches themselves, some of them were good. And yeah, overall, it was a memorable run for him. Now, for me to cover this one, we gotta go all the way back to April of 2006. On the first SmackDown after WrestleMania 22, Teddy Long announced that he's bringing back the King of the Ring tournament. Before his first round match, Booker T decided to come out to the ring and give us a preview of the King of the Ring tournament. He was excited at the fact that he got a restraining order from the Boogeyman, as he was just feuding with him. He then spoke about the King of the Ring, and he mentioned previous winners such as Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart. Sharmell said that Booker was born into royalty and he was born to be a king. The five-time champ then asked his subjects to rise at this moment and bow down to their next king. The fans obviously booed this, and then Booker tried on his cape and crown, and he looked like a total goofball. Sharmell shouted, "All hail King Booker," as the fans continued to boo. The way the crown was tilted to the side, it made for a goofy segment, and it looked like a cartoon. All of a sudden, Bobby Lashley sprinted down to the ring, and he speared the hell out of Booker T. So basically at this point, Booker T was technically King Booker because he wore the crown and the cape, I guess. In Booker T's first match in the tournament, he faced Matt Hardy. With the help of Sharmell, Booker beat Matt Hardy to advance to the semifinals, where he will face Kurt Angle. But that wouldn't happen as Kurt Angle forfeited the tournament, which meant that Booker advanced to the final. He claimed that Kurt Angle was afraid of him, hence why he forfeited. He then offered Angle the chance to come out here and face him. He counted all the way to 10, and Angle obviously didn't show as he wasn't even in the arena. Meanwhile, Bobby Lashley managed to beat Finlay to advance to the final of the King of the Ring tournament at Judgment Day. Booker watched from a distance, and as you could see here, he has a black eye. This was a result of a fight with Batista at the SummerSlam commercial shoot. Apparently those two really hated each other, as Batista was claiming that he's better than the mid-card talent on SmackDown and stuff, and Booker was offended, so he decided to take liberty in his own hands, and they fought. That's a long story, and the stories vary. Like, some say Batista got his ass kicked because Sharmell got involved. I don't know. There's a lot of different stories as to what actually happened in the commercial shoot. Anyways, at Judgment Day, Booker T had a decent matchup with Bobby Lashley. Lashley used his strength to dominate, and Booker used his veteran experience to steer himself in the right direction. And in the end, that didn't work out for him as Lashley speared the hell out of him. Sharmell entered the ring and she distracted the ref, and Finlay from out of nowhere blasted Lashley with a shillelagh, and Booker performed the scissors kick to become the 2006 King of the Ring. Right after the match, Sharmell crowned the new king, but he didn't have much time to celebrate as Lashley speared him through the throne. The fans were loving this, and with the way Sharmell was reacting, you'd think Booker died. On that week's SmackDown, William Regal came out to host Booker T's coronation as king. Now, Regal at this point wasn't doing much. He had this thing with Paul Burchill after he became a pirate, and that's all. Booker T made a special entrance with Sharmell, and I believe this was the final time Booker was Booker T in WWE. After this, he was the king. Regal read from a scroll, and they played some music that ended up being King Booker's theme song. He wore the cape, and Sharmell officially crowned him. He shouted that he's everyone's new king, and every powerful king needs a powerful queen by his side, and as his first royal decree, he introduced everyone to their new queen, Sharmell. She was crying, and he said that this is his ring, and all of the fans need to learn, as well as the guys in the back, they need to learn to bow down to their new king. Regal started repeatedly shouting, "Long live King Booker," and there was pyro, and it was just a celebration for the new king. In the following weeks, Booker continued feuding with Bobby Lashley, and he formed a royal court. He took this gimmick to another level by forcing Bobby Lashley to bow down to him and kiss his feet. JBL at this point had just debuted on commentary, and he always recited something as Booker walked down to the ring. He praised and praised and praised the king, and it was hilarious. He lowered the tone in his voice down when the king made his entrance, and he's speaking, "The king, the queen." And once Lashley came out, he trashed the hell out of him. Anyways, the two were set to face off in a US title match, but Regal and Finlay destroyed him. Despite Doctor's orders, Lashley was going out there later that night. And it ended up being the right decision as he ended up victorious against the ruler of the SmackDown Kingdom. JBL at this point was shook. He couldn't believe it. Like, the King lost? The following week, they had a rematch and Lashley was fed up. After Sharmell brought in a chair, he blasted Regal and Booker with the chair, and due to this, Booker complained to Theodore Long about this. This didn't get him anywhere as Teddy Long booked him and Lashley in a steel cage match. This was to prevent outside interference, and so Booker and Lashley could settle this one once and for all. He tried getting out of this by stating that cages are for prisoners and hobos. Teddy didn't give a damn about Booker's grievances and he had to go out there. But then, he said that he couldn't be more happy as Bobby's never been inside a steel cage. He said that he's going to beat the living hell out of Bobby Lashley and it's all going to be on Theodore Long's bald head. That match didn't go as planned as Bobby Lashley managed to overcome the King and his subjects. JBL said that he was sick of this man and the feud ended. Despite the loss, Booker moved on to bigger and better things. On the July 7, 2006 episode of SmackDown, King Booker won a #1 Contenders Battle Royal to win the right to face Rey Mysterio at the Great American Bash. The King eliminated Regal and Matt Hardy to win this one. Initially, it seemed like Regal was furious, but then he realized that the King won this one and he praised him on the mic. All hail King Booker. And the King himself was crying, I guess? It seemed like there was tears in his eyes. In the weeks leading to the Great American Bash, William Regal made a vow to Queen Sharmell and King Booker, stating that he's gonna beat Rey Mysterio. All of a sudden, Booker stood up and he had a faux British accent. Like, it didn't show that much, but when it did, it was hilarious. Your fairy tale dreams are now over. He doesn't really have an accent 100%, but it shows. Rey Mysterio from behind jumped Booker, and the reason why he came out was because Booker had attacked him after SmackDown the previous week. Later that night, Regal didn't make good on his promise, and Rey hit the 619 on Booker. The way he sold it though, it was like something from a cartoon. After this, King Booker demanded a match with Rey Mysterio on the final SmackDown before the Bash. It was pretty bizarre that they had a matchup 2 days before the pay-per-view, but whatever. Booker T did wear down Rey Mysterio, but it was Rey who emerged victorious with the 619 and the dime. He had momentum heading into Sunday, and sure, this match didn't really affect Sunday, but it was important for both men to look good heading into the Bash. Personally, I love the promo for that match. It gave me SVR 2007 vibes. As for the match, I could sum it all up in one word. Enjoyable. It's not the first thing I think of when I think of the best matches of 2006, but I enjoyed it. Rey was obviously the underdog, but he managed to hold his ground. Sharmell got ejected and the ref got knocked down, and funnily enough, Rey actually had the match won clean, but the ref was knocked out. Booker low-blowed Rey and he hit the bookend. The ref was still knocked down, and the chair Booker brought in would be used against him. And to top it all off, Chavo ran down to the ring and he absolutely killed Rey Mysterio. He brutalized him with that damn chair. Oh god, that chair shot was too much. Like, he threw that chair at him and Rey Mysterio seemed like he was dead after that one. Booker went for the cover and finally, King Booker has won the World Heavyweight Championship. Finally, we don't have to hear him say that he's a five-time WCW champion, but now he's a 6-time world champion. Sharmell shouted all hail King Booker as the new champ was crying. On that week's SmackDown, there was a coronation held for the new World Heavyweight Champion. He thanked all of his loyal subjects, and once again, it seemed like he shed a tear. Just as he was speaking, Rey Mysterio crashed the party. He sent him through the throne, while JBL trashed the master of the 619. Like, at this point, JBL in commentary, he hated 3 men. Batista, Rey Mysterio, and Bobby Lashley. Those 3 men, he absolutely despised them. Oh, and who can forget The Miz? As for the title match between the two, Booker was saved by Chavo, who continued to torment Rey Mysterio. He interfered and he threw him into the barricade, which led to Booker hitting the scissors kick to retain his title. JBL reminded us a million times that you can't trust a Guerrero, and it was on to the next challenger, Batista. He destroyed both Finlay and Regal while Booker provided commentary. As always, his commentary is hilarious. He was putting himself over while Batista was kicking ass in the ring. He's like, oh, Batista, what the clothesline. Batista thanked Booker for holding his title for him, but at SummerSlam, he's going to be needing it back. Just a little side note. Do you guys remember there was this moment on SmackDown where I believe Booker was on commentary once again, and Finley, I think, threw Batista through the announce table, and he was shouting, "Batista's down! Batista's down!" If you've never seen that, please search it. He was so damn annoying. On the final SmackDown before SummerSlam, King Booker made a royal proclamation. He said that he can march into SummerSlam and beat Batista to a royal bloody pulp. He said that deep down inside Batista, he doesn't want Booker. He said that Batista has no heart, no passion, and no intestinal fortitude, and he has no idea what King Booker is all about. He said that Batista has led the fans astray, and Batista knows that he couldn't beat him. And this Sunday, he will prove it without any shadow of a doubt. He then asked for Batista to come down to the ring and hear option B. Out he came, the animal, Batista. Booker told the animal that he must be interested in option B because he came out. Option B was Batista saving himself the embarrassment and still have respect from the fans. Option B will save his integrity, and option B is Batista bowing down and kissing the King's royal feet. Sharmell laid a pillow on the mat and Booker took off his shoes. Like, does Booker seriously think that Batista's gonna do that? JBL was going crazy. He was excited to see Booker's royal feet. Batista considered this, and just as he was about to go in, he decided to step on Booker's foot. He then clotheslined Booker right out of there. He wore the cape and crown, mocking Booker as SmackDown went off the air. Before his match at SummerSlam, King Booker met the other champ, Edge. At this point, the Rated R Superstar was firing on all cylinders, and he was like the most liked and most hated heel at the same time. King Booker called him a rogue, and he asked if he has a point for why he came here. He called himself and Lita the most powerful couple in sports entertainment right after he heard Booker call himself and Sharmell that. He made fun of the Red Sox, and Booker offered a wager. If King Booker holds on to his title and Edge loses his, then Edge comes down to Booker's SmackDown Kingdom and bow down and kiss Booker's royal feet. And Edge responded by asking Booker to be his royal servant for the night on Raw. As for the match with Batista, it was bad. It was severely lacking, they just never clicked that night. At some points during the match, the fans chanted boring, and to make matters worse, it ended in a DQ. Sharmell interfered and the ref rang the bell. Batista, however, bounced back with a spine buster and a Batista bomb. Oh, and look at that. This is the Batista special. I swear to God, this guy was screwed over more than anyone during this era. Cena compared to Batista at this point, like, no. Batista always got screwed over. I always seen him react the same exact way. Hands over his head in utter disbelief at what transpired. On that week's SmackDown, Booker celebrated his victory by giving Finley and William Regal the title of Royal Knights Extraordinaire. The feud between Booker and Batista continued heading into September when the King defended the gold against Batista on an episode of SmackDown. Sir William Regal and Sir Finley proved their worth as they helped the King retain his title. Right after the match, Finley continued his assault on Batista, leaving him a bloody heap. Despite the victory, Booker's next challenger emerged. The following week on SmackDown, Bobby Lashley won the right to face King Booker at No Mercy. Also, a little side note, just have to mention this. Do any of you guys remember when Booker spoke with a British accent once Teddy Long booked him in a match with The Undertaker, or a match he didn't like? He reverted to Booker T. Anyways, before his match at No Mercy, King Booker paid a visit to John Cena on Raw. He randomly came out. Well, not randomly, it was because Cena was going to appear on SmackDown later that week. The Royal Court attacked the champ and they forced Cena to kiss the King's feet. Edge was loving this. As for Cena, he teamed up with Lashley and Batista and they dished out an ass-kicking for the Royal Court on SmackDown. Anyways, that singles match between Lashley and Booker was changed to a fatal 4-way featuring Batista and Finley. Booker wasn't feeling Finley, and he wanted Regal to go and convince Finley to be his ally. He went searching for him, and if you watch this live, well, you know what happened. He tripped into a condiment cart, he then took a shower, and for a second, his member was shown on live pay-per-view. Like, I believe it was a second, I don't know. I never seen the pay-per-view live, but I believe it was 1 second. He was stressed out by Vito, and it was a mess. Like, he was looking for Finley, but he had to take a shower. And then he ran into Teddy Long, who shouted at him, and he forced him to face a mystery opponent later that night. Regal then tried explaining all of this to Booker after his matchup, and he wasn't having it. Once Finley approached them, he told Booker that he came to fight, and 2, I came to take your World Heavyweight Championship. Booker blamed Regal for this, and he called him pathetic and useless. He slapped Regal and told him to get out of his sight. Regal decided to respond with a right hand to knock down the King. Despite the overwhelming odds, Booker managed to escape with his championship. Batista was on the brink of victory, but Lashley hit a vicious spear. The King then rolled towards Finley, and he retained the gold. Overall, it was an entertaining matchup, and I believe it was the King's best title defense up to this point. On the season premiere episode of Raw, All three champs of their respective brands came out, and they had such an entertaining segment. I loved it. They all made fun of each other. Big Show claimed that he could be Andre, he called himself the best champion, and he called himself a movie star. He mentioned the Marine, coming soon to this channel I promise, and his role in the Waterboy. He said that for every scene he did in the Waterboy, he did it in one take. The best part of this was when Booker called him out, stating that Big Show was in that movie for no more than 42 seconds. He stated that he's taken morning constitutionals longer than that. Booker then praised himself, stating that he transcends cinema, and he then asked for the guys to go out and buy the DVD Ready to Rumble, also coming soon to this channel. Captain Insano and John Triton made fun of that movie, and Cena decided to end the party with a cheap shot to the Big Show. Later that night, Vince booked the top champions in a triple threat match to determine the champion of champions. That's how Vince said it. The fans had the opportunity to vote for which championship to be on the line. At Cyber Sunday, Sharmell tried asking Big Show to coexist with King Booker. He turned down the offer, and later that night, Booker confronted Cena, and he asked Cena to coexist with him and take down the Big Show. He stated that if he wins one of their titles, he'll take it to that decrepit cesspool of an organization, ECW. He asked Cena to make a royal pact, and then they'll battle in a fight to the finish. It seemed like Cena accepted, and Booker said that Cena is as wise as Solomon and smart as Socrates. And he let him know that they'll meet in the Coliseum. Cena stopped him there and asked for one thing in return. He wanted one night, just one night, with the Queen. Sharmell went crazy, and Booker told her he'll handle this. He stated that he'll take care of this rogue. And at this point, Booker was irate. But then all of a sudden, he accepted the offer as Cena looked at him in disgust. He asked him if he's lost his mind, while Booker tried to shut him off as Sharmell was right outside. Now, Cena just wanted to see if Booker was stupid enough to accept the offer. Once he exited the room, the champ then apologized before joking around about it as Sharmell and Booker argued. All of a sudden, Ron Simmons shouted, "Damn." And overall, it was so damn entertaining, and it was one of my favorite segments from this King Booker run. As for the match, I remember enjoying it. Granted, I haven't watched in a while, I assume it held up. I will watch it, however, right after I'm done with this video. Booker won the vote, which basically meant he lost the vote as his title was on the line. You get what I mean. It was a resounding 67% who wanted Booker to defend his title. But have no fear, K-Fed is here. Yup, a guy who's famous, although barely, for the wrong reasons, cost Cena the match. But on the other side, at least he was really hated by the crowd. In his time in WWE, he was a great heel, and I heard he had a great attitude backstage, and who knows, maybe we might make a K-Fed video in the future. Booker capitalized on the distraction by blasting Cena with the gold to retain his title. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, King Booker was set to defend his title against Batista at Survivor Series in a last chance match. He called out Batista on finagling, yeah, he said that, his way into a title match. He bragged about his Champion of Champions win, and it's Batista who gets the glory as he gets the chance to face him. The King said that the result will always be the same. I, the victor, King Booker. Batista responded saying that he's taken his title back at Survivor Series. On the November 24th episode of SmackDown, King Booker and Batista were set to sign the contract for their matchup at SummerSlam. Booker called himself the Champion of Champions, and they said that Batista's destiny will be denied when he, King Booker, defeats him at Survivor Series for the final time. Teddy Long then appeared and he signed Booker's scroll, then Batista came out. Booker claimed that Batista may be second guessing himself, as Batista, this is Booker's words, doesn't know if he could beat King Booker. He ignored the champ and he signed the contract. Booker said that on the scroll will last a lifetime, and at Survivor Series, may the best man win. And all of a sudden, he flipped the table over Batista and he unleashed an assault. Batista, however, fought back and he knocked down some of Booker's henchmen. The King from out of nowhere, though, blasted Batista with a scepter. And in the end, he broke it right on his head. He blamed all of this on Teddy as SmackDown went off the air. At Survivor Series, Teddy Long added a stipulation. If Booker gets himself counted out or disqualified, then there's a new champion. The match itself, well, it was the best out of the 3 matches these guys had, but that's not really saying much. I will say, though, that it was decent, and it wasn't terrible like the SummerSlam one. I really liked the fact that Batista got desperate and decided to blast Booker with the title near the end. Obviously, Batista didn't bring it in himself, but desperate times call for desperate measures. The crowd was hot for this one near the end, and overall, I liked the moment when Batista finally won the title, because it was a long time coming. Now, Batista, after returning in 2006, he struggled to find his footing. It wasn't until the road to WrestleMania 23 he started to find his stride. As for Booker, he started falling down the card. Sure, he main evented Armageddon, but he wasn't a big deal as he previously was. But let me explain something. I'm not saying he got buried, because that would be horrific. He was still one of the top guys on SmackDown. He was basically an upper mid-card or semi-main eventer. I do recall there was a moment after his title run where Booker made fun of See No Evil. He reviewed the movie and he made fun of Kane. He called it a comedy and he said that he's seen scarier movies watching Muppet. He showed himself acting in the movie and for the millionth time, it was goofy, like he's shouting. That was hilarious. Now, I don't think this is on the network. I couldn't find it there and I found it on YouTube. Anyways, he feuded with Kane for a bit. He participated in Money in the Bank and in June, he was drafted to Raw. On the Red brand, he did do some stuff. He main evented Vengeance, and he feuded with the returning Triple H. In the build-up to SummerSlam, Booker trolled everyone by coming out to Triple H's entrance. Once he appeared, everyone was let down. He said that he's watched a vignette promoting Triple H's return, and the fact that he proclaims himself the King is blasphemy, and that there is only one King in WWE. His name is King Booker. He called himself the one true King, and he refused to watch someone use his title as their own. He then stripped Triple H of being associated with the word King, and he, King Booker, is the only King. He then approached Jerry Lawler, and he said that he's respected Jerry for many years. And as a sign of respect, he asked for Lawler to remove the word King from his name. Jerry Lawler stated that they can coexist as kings, but Booker said that it defies the very nature of monarchy, and that he's the only king. Jerry then said that if it means so much to Booker, then he won't call himself a king. Booker then demanded that Jerry kiss his ring, and he was clearly irritated. The fans were booing and Jerry stood up and he refused to follow through. Booker then ordered Jerry to kiss his ring. Jerry once again said no as the fans cheered. Jerry chants intensified and Booker all of a sudden blasted him. They fought back and forth and many officials came out to restrain both men. This dispute would come to a head on the August 6, 2007 episode of Raw when both men faced off in a King versus King match. The loser must cease to being the King. And plus, they must crown the other individual the following week. Booker won this one with the help of Sharmell. She distracted Lawler long enough for Booker to take advantage and hit a scissors kick. The following week was the Coronation. Lawler was set to crown the only King, King Booker. Booker called Jerry Jerome Lawler, and he demanded that Jerome humble himself and place the crown on his head. Lawler was contemplating whether or not to do it, and all of a sudden, the King reverted to Booker T. He was shouting. Lawler grabbed a mic, and he told Booker that he isn't the only king. He said that he was handed a note by the GM, and that Booker T is going to have a match at SummerSlam against Triple H. The King wasn't happy about this, and to add insult to injury, Lawler stomped on his crown. He then went ballistic, and he took his frustrations out on Lawler as the fans chanted, "Asshole, asshole." He threatened to break JR just like Lawler right afterwards. On the final Raw before SummerSlam, he claimed that he knows Triple H is in the arena, and yeah, sure, they have their joust at the SummerSlam Games, but right now, they should meet. SummerSlam Games joust? Come on, man. Later that night, Booker came out to the ring along with Sharmell, and he said that he was happy that the crowning never happened the previous week, because it is going to be Hunter Hearst Helmsley who crowns him. Triple H did appear, a fake one, and he crowned Booker. The one true King then told Triple H that he will make him bow down, but right now he has another issue to deal with. James Ross. Booker told Taz, or in his words, Tazwell, to leave. The King demanded that James Ross kiss his hand, and he threatened James, stating that the same thing that happened to Jerome will happen to him. James refused to do so, but Sharmell forcefully made him do it. Booker then shoved JR and he left. Anyways, the match at SummerSlam was decent. Triple H wasn't at his best, obviously, but they managed to put on a bit of something. Triple H managed to overcome Booker, and this was Booker's final pay-per-view appearance in 4 years, WWE. The next night on Raw, Booker T made his final appearance facing John Cena. Later that week, it was revealed that he was one of the guys that were involved in the Signature Pharmacy scandal, and so he was suspended. And in October, Booker left the company for TNA. I found this article back from 2007, which discusses Booker's release. Link is down below. As we have reported many times now, it is likely that King Booker is finished with World Wrestling Entertainment. We have new word that Booker was actually close to signing a new long-term contract with the company, but was constantly holding out. Apparently, he had several demands, such as wanting to sit in on production meetings during his feud with Triple H to make sure that his character wasn't buried. Booker did have a contract going into SummerSlam and told The Office that he would sign as soon as his attorney finished looking over for the final time. It is believed that he was waiting to see how he was taken care of in his match at SummerSlam. Booker was also said to be very upset that Orton's name showed up on the Signature Pharmacy list but wasn't suspended since he has served his time, or come clean, whatever the deal was. He also made it clear earlier this year that if he would have been drafted to ECW, he would have quit right then and there. Booker stated many times that he didn't want to be like the other guys who died on the road in some hotel. Also, rumor has it, and I found this a while ago, I couldn't find the link, that Booker quit the WWE because he can't smoke weed. And so that's why I went to TNA, because the rules were lighter there, some stuff like that. And yeah, he went on to have a run in TNA where he joined the Main Event Mafia, and he won, I think, the TNA Tag Team Championships. Overall, King Booker's character was awesome. This was the one thing that propelled him into a top guy. From July of 2006 all the way up to his release, Booker was one of the top guys in WWE, and I'm glad he got to have a run with the title. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit a bookend of the like button and perhaps a scissors kick on the subscribe button. Peace, I'm out.